I need to remove the top and bottom material for these tenons that I'm going to be cutting. And one way to do it is to use a router and a track saw. In the last video, I showed how I cut a perfectly straight line for all these shoulders. And now we need to remove all this material. And right here, you can see that it's laid out a little funny. Right here where I've got it all marked out is where this beam is going to fit over top. And then I've got this extra spot here that's going to hang out the front. That's part because I want it to be exposed a little bit, and part because how it's going to be helpful when I use the router a little later on. So I'm going to lay this track on here and then make a bunch of cuts with the track saw all the way up to that line, and then I'm going to leave these end pieces on. And then we can move this aside, pull out a chisel, and chip out all these bigger pieces. And then we'll clean up the bottom here with a chisel. Now, sometimes I'm asked when I make these videos, why do I bother cleaning them all out if I'm just going to use the router anyways? And the reason is, and I've learned this over time, that if you do pass the router over these, there's a high probability that the router is going to catch these and shoot them back at you at about mock chicken. And so to prevent that from happening, I just clean them out real quick. Now we can grab a router, and you're going to want to make sure you use a straight bit with the bearing on the top. And then we're going to want to come and set the depth of the router so that it just matches up with that cut line. And then when we're cutting, this top bearing right here will come and ride along those shoulders and cut a nice straight line and prevent us from going any further than we need to. And now you can see why I temporarily left this piece on over here. It makes a flat surface, so I have these two sides. And then when I put the router on, it has something to hold the router up so that it can make that flat cut across the bottom. Now I can just trim these off and then level out with a chisel. Okay, now I flipped it over and I also cut the bottom sides off, so now the tenons are done and we can try fit this over and see how it works. Okay, and that fit really good. And you can see what I really wanted to make sure is that all the way along these shoulders that it fit on nice and tight and that there were no gaps. And so by starting with that track saw and making that perfectly straight line, now everything lines up when I go to put this one on.